Now streaming on Peacock.
By all that's holy, Bridget Jones.
Hello, old friend.
Bridget Jones is back
We are about to embark on an adventure.
for one final chapter.
Anything else I can help with?
Yes.
Experience every moment
Do you think about what might have been?
and fall in love
To Bridget.
all over again.
It's time to live.
Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy. Streaming now only on Peacock.
Have I Got News for You is back for another season. Roy Wood Jr., Amber Ruffin, and Michael Ian Black are finding the funny in the week's biggest stories. Have I Got News for You, Saturday at 9 on CNN, and stream next day on Max.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I'm going to be talking about how not to friend zone your marriage, and I was pretty proud of this idea when it cropped up in my most recent subscriber episode. I believe is when I realized I should do a podcast on this. You should definitely listen to that one because it was great. It was the Meaningless Thank You, or Thank You is Not a Compliment. And, of course, there's close to 200 other subscriber episodes if you subscribe, so just click on the link in the episode description to subscribe. Anyway, so there's a lot of people who are pretty uncomfortable with flirting and uncomfortable with intimacy. And those people are basically friend zoning their marriage. And there are guys that do that, and there are women that do that. And Gottman calls it not responding to bids for affection. But it isn't just that. It's like not responding in a flirtatious way. You know, so like the Gottman stuff is like if your husband says, look at the bird outside the window, then you're supposed to come over and be like, oh, that's a nice bird, right? Okay. You know, I'm making it sound kind of silly, but it's not silly. It's good. Fine. Go look at the bird, you know. I mean, for sure, like you do this with your kids, you know, like your kid says, look at the bird. And you're like, oh, I see the bird. And then your husband's like, look at the bird. And you're like, I can't. I'm doing the fucking dishes, right? So don't, you know, do that. Look at the bird and then tell him to do the dishes. But the point is that people respond to bids for affection or not, but there's plenty of people who come look at the bird, but they're still just friends looking at a bird, you know? And I'm the first to say that your romantic relationship should be based on friendship. I'm like the first, second, third, last. Like that's like so important. I deeply believe that. I literally just did a podcast on when the elephant in the room is that you are not friends or you're not best friends. I think that was another subscriber one. And when you do not feel like your husband or your wife is your friend or your best friend or even a friend, then that is a huge deficit and it makes you feel like you are really missing out on having a healthy relationship because you are, you know, because friendship is a core component of a mutually respectful, loving, reciprocal, healthy marriage. So now that I said that, which is 100% true, we can move on to don't only be friends, right? Because like you're not just supposed to be friends. You're not like on a commune and you're just two random people raising kids together, you know, like on a kibbutz or something. And you have chosen each other to be romantic partners. This is not just like a child raising experiment dually headed by two friends. And a lot of people act like that. So a lot of people do the other thing, which is equally bad. So I should say, like, don't like fuck zone your marriage, which I guess maybe I won't do that one as a full podcast. I'll just do it as a little hopefully not here, which is like if your husband is like, look at the bird, like I'm not saying you should, I mean, if it's your husband, he would like you to fuck zone your marriage. But if your wife says, women don't like birds as much, but in the possibility that your wife is like, hey, look at the bird, you should not come over there and be like, that bird's hot, but not as hot as this ass. You know, like, do not be a ridiculous person. Do not make everything into sex, right? And I tell guys this all the time. But then there's guys of the gentleman eunuch variety, and you could go back to my podcast on that, who never, ever would say anything like that. And their reason is that she wouldn't like it. And the reason that she wouldn't like it is because back in 1998, they made a sex joke and she didn't like it. And now they know that she wouldn't ever like anything like that ever. And that's it. All done. And that's not really true. It's that they have incredibly low self-esteem. These are the men, by the way, that friend zone their marriages. So in case you're waiting for a description, they have low self-esteem. They think that they are very smart and they're very nice, but they think that they have the sex appeal of a wet rag. They are often addicted to porn, which is the only possible place that their sexual appetite can be fully experienced, because they assume that women, especially their beautiful wife who's up there on the pedestal, would find them to be disgusting if she knew fully what they think about in bed, which is not anything like necrophilia, which is like blowjobs or something, you know? And it's like, no, she is, in fact, would probably be more interested in you if you showed some more, you know, sexual confidence. It's like literally the opposite, you know? And you should all watch the movie A Different Man, because it's great. And I recommended this on my social media, and I believe in my secret group. And of course, you should all join my Facebook secret group. It's even cheaper than the subscription. The link is in my episode description. But A Different Man is a great movie. And basically, the main character is a gentleman eunuch. Like, that's what he is. And you assume that he has to be because he has a disfiguring deformity thing. But turns out, and the movie is like, has a lot of black humor, which is my favorite, morbid humor. I think did I talk about this movie already? Well, anyway, point is you should definitely watch it, because you learn that it's him. It was never his face, it was never his deformity. And of course, everything's caricatured because it's supposed to be kind of an absurdly funny movie, and it is. But it remains true. So much more is about your personality than your looks. And I see women unhappy with tall, attractive, rich men in my office all the time, you know, and those women know that those guys are those things: tall, attractive, and rich. And I say tall, attractive, and rich because those are the ones that guys most commonly say, oh, if just I had that thing, tall, attractive, or rich, then everything would be better, you know. And I am here to tell you no, because definitely, that's not true. Because I have those guys in my office, tall, attractive, rich, or 2 out of 3, or 1 out of 3, you know, and guess what? Their wife is still unhappy with them. And the 3 out of 3, the wife is still unhappy with them, you know, because it's so much about personality. So getting back to that segue or tangent or what have you, if you are friend zoning your marriage, you are likely a guy with low self-esteem, or possibly a woman with low self-esteem, you know, who is just so much more comfortable in this sphere. So the way that it looks with a guy is that he doesn't want to be thought of as like aggressive. So that's why he doesn't do it. And the way that, and by do it, I mean like make like a sexual joke or flirt or say, you look so hot in that outfit. Although they say, I like that shirt, just like a friend would say, you know, but they won't say, wow, like your body looks amazing, or you look amazing in that, or holy shit, or they're, you know, my favorite on social media is Pookie and Jet. Did I talk about this yet? Pookie and Jet, look this up. This is great. They are this wealthy couple, and of course, everybody follows them in a state of envy, you know, for their life. He's always buying her these purses. This is a young couple, I think, late 20s, maybe early 30s, and they just had their first baby. This guy's obsessed with his wife, you know, and unless he's a world's best actor, seems genuine to me. He's always like going on about her, and there's these, I feel like I did talk about this, but who knows? These satirical, you know, takeoffs of these people. And because he has like his line, it's like, good Lord, you know, about how hot she is. And like, so this guy is not a gentleman eunuch, that's for sure, you know. He definitely thinks that he is allowed to say sexual things about his wife, and that it is positive and wonderful for him to express how much he, you know, wants to be with her in every way. And so, you know, it's obviously done for social media, and it's quote unquote intimacy porn. But remember, the intimacy porn only hurts women. You know, like, women should probably not watch Pookie and Jet if they're unhappy in their relationship with the romance level. However, men maybe should, you know, to see what does this guy say that this woman likes so much, you know. Just like I say, porn is bad when it brings your libidos further up apart. So if it's a high libido man, a low libido woman, and he's watching porn, well, shit, that's going completely the wrong direction, right? So now they're going to be, he's all fluffed up and she's still where she was, and they're going to be further apart. However, if he stops porn and she starts porn, especially erotic stories, which I've done a whole podcast on that can actually teach women what they like and like how to do things and stuff. So that's my podcast that says there's a certain kind of porn that can help with sex lives. But so in a best case scenario, the woman starts to like read sex scenes in books or like, you know, use literotica or whatever. And then she's fluffing herself. He's not fluffing himself. And then they come closer together. Similarly, a lot of guys should watch those cute couples on Instagram and the woman should stop, you know, and then they'd come closer together because he's going to figure out all these basically like ways to act more romantic and sexual, not friend zone his marriage, and she's not going to be bombarding herself with things that make her have these downward comparisons with her own marriage. So that would be kind of a best case scenario. So anyway, if you want to not friend zone your marriage, try to flirt. Try to say things about how attractive your spouse is. Try to bring things a little bit more sexual in the joking. Try to be honest if you're a man about if you're staring at your wife's body, you know. And if she's like super low libido and super uncomfortable around sex, then she'll say, stop, I don't like that. But if she's always kind of been waiting for you to be more assertive and aggressive, like so many women in my office, that's why I wrote my whole post on ways to be more dominant in bed, you know, so there's a lot of women that are happy enough, but the guy's just too passive and he friend zones the marriage out of his own low self-esteem. And those are the guys that I'm addressing this to. So those women would be happily excited, and it can be transformative when I work with guys individually in coaching or therapy. And I say, why don't you say more sexual things, more flirtatious things, more like, wow, you look hot, instead of just, that's a nice shirt. Is that one new? You know, which is so avuncular. It's like, you know, like Ned Flanders, you know, and so you don't want to be Ned Flanders, even though I think there was a Simpsons episode where they were having sex. But, you know, Ned and his wife, I think this is a meme, but who knows? Point being is that you do not want to be seen by your spouse as a friend only, right? I mean, this is the truth. And you do not want to be seen as only wanting sex. But the guys that I'm addressing this to don't have that problem. These are the more preoccupied attachment guys who have lower self-esteem. The guys who are more avoidant attachment that are saying, oh, your body's so hot, but they literally don't say anything else about her soul. Those guys should not listen to this. Your marriage isn't in a friend zone. You got to work on some friendship. You know, you have to have more empathy, more closeness, more team feeling, more cute parenting stuff, more family vibe, all of that. But these guys that I'm talking to got to get out of the friend zone. It's a balance. You got to be both things. You got to be romantic partners, and that's got to be across a context, you know, that's got to be juxtaposed against a context of friendship. And if you're mostly like this awesome team, these friendly parents of your children, but then, you know, periodically, and so some guys are very, very literal. So they're like, so how often am I supposed to like talk, you know, in this more flirtatious or sexual way? Why don't you go for every other day? You know, I mean, there's your baseline. But you can really do it every day. And of course, I always say this, but I'll say it again. If your wife is like, what the fuck are you smoking? Like, you have never talked to me like this in our whole marriage. What are you doing? You're like this is so weird. What do you say? I hope that you remember from whenever I have told this to you before, women want you to work on the relationship, you know? That's cute. That's touching. Don't be dishonest ever. Say, I've been listening to a podcast, and you know how you've made comments over the years that I'm too passive and I have low self-esteem, which will be relevant to basically any man in the situation? Well, I'm trying something new. I do think you're hot. I just have never really been comfortable with like saying it. I feel like it's too aggressive or it's going to, you know, like weird you out. So I'm trying to say it. Whenever I think it, I'm trying to say it. What do you think? What do you think of the new me, you know? And she'll laugh or she'll smile. Or maybe she'll say, I hate it. I actually really hate it. And it's bringing up a lot of bad stuff for me from my childhood trauma around sex. Now, that's like a worst case scenario of something she would say. But if she does, well, shit, you got a hell of a lot more data about your wife. And if she does respond with that sentence, you should say, thank you so much for sharing that. And honestly, I've been thinking this for a while, but I do think we should get into couples therapy to work through things like that. Because between your upbringing and my upbringing, I feel like we're, frequently misattuned, particularly in the romantic and sexual sphere. All right, and write that down on your hand so that it's at the ready in case of, emergency, parachute. And thanks for listening, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great day, guys.